Greetings, welcome to Conversations with Nicole. Today we are talking about father hunger and mentoring young black males. My guest, Mr. Willie Williams, a mentoring professional and FAMU public health doctoral candidate, shares his viewpoint. Let's listen in on the conversation.
Fathers not being available physically and emotionally. What's your take on that?
Well, it's so many different ways you can come at that question. I think we're in a time in today's society to where that's become normalized, you know, for youth, especially minority youth, to be identified as without a father in the home. It's become, in a sense, acceptable. You're more likely to walk into a classroom full of kids and say, well, half of these kids have a father, or don't have a father, rather, than to walk into a classroom and see a father figure in there. That would probably surprise people more than anything. So I think, for the most part, that we do, it is something that's grand that we need to start addressing and paying more attention to, because the effects of it is so detrimental to our young men and young ladies.
The need for that male energy, both by not only boys but girls, is really, you know, strong, and in particularly with boys, because, you know, boys need to be brought up or nurtured by men to know how to become men. You know, I think that sometimes that's not valued enough, and not to knock single moms, because I was a single mom myself, but a woman really can't teach a boy how to be a man. So it's really, you know, important to have, if not the father, a male figure in the boy's life to help him to understand, you know, what manhood is all about. Right.
And usually when you think about complexities as far as growing up, you know, when you think females, you think, oh yeah, there's so many things they have to go through, but there's so many different dynamics a male has to go through as well. But what we do is, a lot of times we'll find ourselves hiding those things, especially anything emotional, so that we don't put out that there is a cry for help, or there's a need for help. And that comes along with being raised in a single parent household, is that, okay, now I have to be the man. So now you've went from 5 to, let me be 25 real quick, let me fast forward and try to fill in the gap, which is a lot of times not possible. Either the son's trying to fill in the gap or the mother's trying to fill in the gap, but there's a gap there that people are trying to fill.
Yeah, good point. So you have some research that you are getting ready to embark on. You are a doctoral candidate at Florida A&M University with public health, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So tell us about your research.
Well, what my research does is it looks at mentoring and the direct and indirect impact they may have on African American male youth, teenagers, specifically 12 to 18 years old. And I particularly chose that age group because it was something dear to me. Mentoring, I am a product of mentoring. You know, coming up, I had the same issues a lot of young men had today. I had emotional anger and feelings that I didn't know what to do with it. And a father figure was in the home, but because he was military bound, he was constantly gone. I saw him at 4:30 shining boots, and I didn't see him again till 6:30 at night, and that's when he was in country or stateside, so to say. So he was missing emotionally for me. So yeah, I was involved in a lot of issues, a lot of challenges. Me and my brother both, you know, break-ins, getting in fights in school, just trouble, just a lot of trouble. So that age range 12 to 18 was particularly challenging for me until somebody came forth and said, look, young brother, you're doing it wrong. There's an A way to do it, there's a B way to do it, and you need to choose A. But not only did he tell me which way to choose, he actually guided me to that direction. And he continued to do that until I was pretty much grew wings of my own and figured out how to fly, and now I'm 8 months from my doctoral degree.
Wonderful. That's some story right there. So you're about to do this research. What do you think your hypothesis, or what is your hypothesis? What do you think you're going to find as a result of your research? Do you have any thoughts about it in advance?
Well, I definitely have some thoughts toward it, and definitely not to create any kind of bias. So looking beyond hypothesis and beyond theory, I'm looking more toward my experiences that I've had working with young men, both on a mentoring level and on a therapist level. I believe these mentoring programs are making a difference. Okay. You need someone there to guide these young men through the different dynamics of their lives. They need someone there, and the trick is someone who's there consistently. They're used to people being there temporarily, and that causes a lot more damage than you can imagine someone coming in temporarily. Dropping off. So
I'm sure that develops some trust issues.
Oh yes, definitely that. So when we look at mentoring programs, we look at who's there consistently that they can fall back on as a support system and as a sense of direction.
Excellent. So, this mentoring piece is pretty huge, so much so that President Obama launched My Brother's Keeper.
Yes.
Back in, I believe it was February of 2014 or so, and that's kind of taken on a national charge. I think there's some 250 communities in the country that are little mini My Brother's Keepers, subsidiaries, if you will. So, this is really a big deal. I know that you also shared some research that you've done on the high level of population levels within juvenile justice and corrections in the state of Florida. You want to speak a little bit about that?
Well, and definitely thanking President Barack Obama for initiating such a great initiative as far as My Brother's Keeper and taking that first step that we needed to get this nation's eyes on what the problem is with our young black males and the challenges that they're facing. So yeah, when we look at it, we see how statistically they're on the higher end of juvenile delinquency. They're on the higher end of incarceration, the higher end of dying younger and faster than any other racial ethnicity or group above. But then when you look at academics and health-wise, we're on the lower end. So there's definitely an issue there. There's a problem, America. There's a problem there, and people always think, well, young black men are becoming endangered species, so to say, and I don't believe that's the case.
Okay.
I don't believe that's the case, because when you think of endangered species, when something's entitled endangered, that category becomes protected. They developed a law in 1973, the Endangered Species Act, that protects them now. They take that, and if there's any threat to this endangered animal or plant, you can get charges. You can serve time. Black men are not protected like that.
Yeah, we witnessed that in our society, especially in more recent times, from Trayvon Martin to Eric Garner to Jordan Davis. Yeah, just the list kind of goes on and on.
Right, and see, just like you're saying, it's time after time the same issue. So more than being an endangered species, we're becoming an extinct species.
Right.
That's
so
probably,
hope. Possibly these mentoring programs can help turn that around.
Yes.
So just real quick, what are some of the indicators that you're going to be looking at in your research?
Well, I plan on taking a mixed study approach. So I'm planning on doing qualitative and quantitative design research. And with qualitative, I plan on interviewing the young men, interviewing their parents, staff members, school officials, just to get their perspectives on some of the negative, positive influences that might be impacting these young men on a regular basis, and how much progression they're making toward the positive direction. And then as far as qualitative, I plan on pulling secondary data from the school district to see, well, what is the attendance like? What is the behavior like? What is the referrals like as far as young men that are not getting mentoring versus the men that are getting mentoring? So by taking a mixed method approach, hopefully I can eliminate any kind of weaknesses using one versus the other may have.
You have an event coming up, right? You're raising funds for your research. So tell us about the event.
So the event coming up is Empowering the Community Fundraiser. And what I'm doing is I'm raising funds to support the research that I'm doing. And there's different things tied with the research. I want to be able to provide incentives to the young men that participate in the interviews, their parents, school officials, so that we're consistent with it. I also want to be able to have the interviews professionally transcribed, because I want a top tier, a top level research product. not only do these young men deserve it, these mentoring programs deserve it. The community deserves for someone to take the time out to do a grade A research product on them and show the impact that they're making with our young men. And that way, if and when it's challenged, it'll be something top notch, and you got to come hard if you're going to challenge it.
Yeah. So, when is the event? Where?
So the event will be February 28th, which is a Tuesday night, 6:30 to 8:30 at Sitting Hall, which is right next to Harry Seafood Restaurant.
Right, in Clayman Plaza.
In Clayman Plaza, and we have live music lined up. La Clotia, who's going to perform for us live. We have a DJ. We'll have some food there. Have some great sponsors from the community who's donated food to the event. So we're looking at having a great event as well as for a great cause.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, anything you want to say to us in closing?
No, I just thank you for the opportunity and to pretty much share what's going on in the Tallahassee community and the things that many people have already been doing as far as working with our youth. And I look forward to seeing some more great things coming from this show. And thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, Willie. Stay tuned for more conversations.